It's time for Respect the Process, a short chat about commercial filmmaking. Here's your host, director Jordan Brady.
Well, thank you, Helen. Listeners, it is, the 21st of October already. I cannot believe it. And my guest is Michael Pierce, who is a self-described media fixer. It's a name that just kind of stuck because he's a problem solver, and I call him a connector. You know, that's what I try to be a lot of times. I'm just trying to help people that I think are going to get along and do good work together. And we had a great chat about all kinds of things, and we've actually been on the phone a couple times, Helen. Yeah, I think we're going to do a big Super Bowl spot together someday, and we talk about it in the episode. I met him because someone had sent me his behind the scenes of a Jersey Mike commercial. I think it was a Hungry Man produced. I'm not sure who directed it, maybe Brian Buckley, with Danny DeVito. Now, Danny DeVito, the Double D, is everybody's favorite. But the behind the scenes was not just a camera running around. What Michael produced was a full-on mini documentary. So I'm babbling too much about that, but I'm going to post it at jordanbrady.com. I love listening to Just Shoot It with my friends Matt and Oren. They recently had an episode where they were talking about personalizing your treatments, and I think it's worth a listen. I disagree with a couple of things, like, I did a commercial for a feminine hygiene product that I've never used, nor did I pretend to use it. But I knew the comedy bits, so that helped win. But I am not above taking a photo with my son's dogs to pretend like I'm a dog lover. I am a dog lover. I just don't currently have a dog. I'm shooting next week in Texas, and the treatment for that was only stick figures that I had drawn. I used the iPad, and that saved me a lot. I think I've saved half the planet using the Apple Pencil because I can just erase on the iPad instead of crumpling up pieces of paper in a notebook, a German sketch notebook. And then the other treatment for a job I'm doing in November for Toyota was a video treatment. Don't look at me like that, Helen. It's not the first time. With my LT friends, I do a video treatment. Now, I do stick figures and sometimes like video clips and images in the video presentation, but there is no written companion piece. So there. But listen to Just Shoot It with Oren and Matt, because it is a good episode with a lot of hot tips. Hot takes, they call them, Helen. The young kids can say, hot take. What's your hot take? Bootcamp is, by the way, you can fast forward if you want. I'm just going to be quick and we're going to get to Michael. But I do appreciate those that listen. Bootcamp is December 14th in Los Angeles, and I went down to 10 people. And that's because of the bandwidth that yours truly wants to give to each participant. I can handle 15, but I feel that because it's a presentation that is also a spirited discussion, like a very informal Q&A from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., all about having a career, launching a career, managing a career, pivoting in your career as a commercial director. So 10 is just a little more fun for me and the participants. You get more out of it. There are 5 spots left, so I suggest if you're thinking about it, sign up. The code is JEDI if you've taken one of my online courses. Now, technically, it should be that you took a course at commercialdirectingfilmschool.com, but if you took it at the Filmmakers Academy, by golly, use that code. I mean, I'll know when you sign up if you've taken the course either place, but you save $100. And I'm going to give you a free course regardless. And also, wait, there's more. We do a one-on-one consultation call, like an onboarding call, so that I can custom tailor the boot camp for you. And Helen, that's kind of the clincher right there. 15 onboarding calls is taxing, especially when I'm shooting up until the boot camp, and then we go right into post on both these spots. So there you go. You can sign up at commercialdirectingfilmschool.com. And if you're on the fence, by golly, DM me because I will talk you out of it. Okay, let me talk about the Magic Mind. This is a really good deal that listeners of this show get. Use the code Brady20. So it'd be magicmind.com/Brady20. Now, they sent it to me in all caps. Helen, I'm not sure if the internet knows if you're all caps, but do it in all caps. Brady, B-R-A-D-Y, 20. And you get up to 48% off a subscription. And this is like a once in a lifetime deal? Well, that's kind of hard to say. What I love about the Magic Mind, I know I talk about it here on the podcast and on my Instagram a lot. Not so much on TikTok, because I'm not, there's too much going on with the TikTok shop. That's not how you say it, Helen? But what I love are the effects of Magic Mind. I'm down to the 1 cup of coffee. Maybe I'll have a sip of a second one, but no more afternoon cappuccinos, which is saving me $6. I'm doing this shot. It's a mental performance shot in the morning. And now, and Magic Mind people, forgive me, but I was partying Saturday night here in the backyard. And I did an afternoon Magic Mind second shot to keep me going. And that's all I'm going to say. I was medicated, and I did the mental enhancement shot a second time there. And it's got all the ingredients, I tell you, the ashwagandha, the lion's mane, the vitamin Bs, the ceremonial grade matcha. That's the kick. That's the kick right there. The matcha is green tea. It's better than the coffee because there's no jitter. But I also love the people behind Magic Mind, and that's what got me to go into this kind of second year of this, being an ambassador, because it was started by this guy who will send you a personal message when you subscribe, and he's always tinkering with the formula, pushing the edge. So go ahead, magicmind.com/Brady20. And maybe you put the code in again, Brady20, but it should be Brady48, but it's not. But it's 48% off. So everyone that's tried it loves it. My friend Susan Monroe, who was on the show a month or two ago, she subscribed. She loves it. And she gets as much done as I do, and I'm pretty prolific, folks. Pretty prolific. Okay. Enough of my jaw jacking. I told you about Bootcamp. I told you about Magic Mind. Tell me what you think of the show. Let's get on with Michael. Tell us what Media Fixer does.
So, my entire career, I've worked as essentially a freelancer. I came up through production literally as an assistant PA. And
where was that? What city?
In LA. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So grew up in Southern California. I graduated from USC and not in film. I did the Annenberg School of Communication and Journalism.
Fine school. That was a good program.
Yeah. It was great program. I loved it. Got a lot out of it. And I was really into music. I did college radio. I wanted to be a record producer. That was my big love.
We all do.
Yeah, right? And so...
What kind of music did you want to produce? You have some hip-hop artists in your back pocket, or?
No, at that time, I love such a variety, and I still do, but in the 80s, I was very much into the early new wave and then and late punk. So if you look at my record collection from them, you've got everything from bands like X to a Human League and things, and definitely love ska, and then that 80s turned into metal. And I discovered bands, there was Metallica and Zeppelin and the usual stuff, with. And then, grunge hit when I was at SC doing college radio, and really not even grunge, alternate music.
Sure.
Or alternative or whatever it was called.
Pre-grunge.
Yeah. And so, in LA, I would go out and you'd see shows and you'd see Jane's Addiction, and you'd be like, what was that? And that was really where I thought I was heading, because I really felt good. And so I got derailed though. I had to do an internship to get my degree, and I put it off till the last semester. And I went down to the student center, and on the board there were like there's only a couple, and one of them was for a production company. And
Do you remember the name?
Yes, it was actually through Todd AO. They had a satellite production company.
And Todd AO is a music. I know it as a music house. Like,
Yeah,
didn't they do mixes and scores and everything?
Yeah, totally. A total audio mixing, sweetening, scoring, huge facility. Probably still off of Seward. They're off Melrose, but
Big features.
big. So turns out that little company was. They said, yeah, come on in. You'll make scripts and get coffees and do errands. Well, it turns out they were co-producing a movie with Oliver Stone.
Oh, wow.
The film Heaven and Earth. And unbeknownst to me, the executive assistant to the producer who owned the company, one of the producers, was looking to leave and move on. And they had been waiting for somebody. Well, I was that somebody. And so I got hired shortly after graduation to be the executive assistant and office manager for a business that was what I thought was like 10 or 12 people. Well, it turned out I went from making script copies to organizing calls with like Oliver Stone and Ixlin and the heads of distribution of Paramount and everybody. And it was like, oh, wow, this is incredible. And I just fell for it pretty quickly.
You were bitten by the bug instantly.
Yeah.
And it turned out well. And I got to think that while the Oliver Stones of the world come with their headaches, I'm sure, and their challenges and their joys, filmmaking might be more reliable group of people than the bands on Sunset Strip.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not sure how you spent your 20s. I don't feel like I got cheated. And you would find me on most Sunday nights at the Viper Room, or Fridays having dinner at Barney's, or going to parties in the hills, like seeing anybody. It was a great time. But that job like segued into what became my film school, because I didn't know very much about how you really do anything. I got exposed to the business end, the legal end, the development end, which is probably the more critical end of the business, frankly. But I definitely did that for a year because I was being pulled into, I got to see how this stuff is actually done. And I met a lot of people in that job. I was very fortunate. I went into I didn't know how fortunate the positioning of that job would be in my career.
Right. My 20s were, I wasn't in LA till my mid 20s, and I don't remember much before that. It was a lot of recreational drug use before it was legal. Wow. But I spent a lot of time on the road, crisscrossing America, in nightclubs, a lot of sex with a lot of bar staff as I was working in comedy clubs. So it was a whole nother personality, another lifetime ago. So fast forward to, when do you start Media Fixer?
So, well, I mean, it's just...
I realize there's a lot in between, but your own production company.
So, I mean, it's just been, the last several years. And I've been, actually that moniker is where I capitalized it and used it as business. I had my own creative shop, two different shops, one in the early 2000s, and then that one was morphed into my own entity that I shut down in 2019. And so,
because of the pandemic or right before?
No, right
before. Yeah, 19.
Yeah, I had it from. So there's no short story on this one. So I had a shop called Aisle 5 Studios in Venice.
What? Say the name again.
Aisle 5.
Aisle 5.
And
aisle for clean up on aisle 5.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's where we got the name.
Clean up on aisle 5.
Yeah. And so I had a couple partners, Sean Foster, who was a director, Michael Barnett, who's an editor.
I know Michael Barnett.
Yeah. So Michael, if you know Michael, it could be a different Mike, because Michael passed away in 2017, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Driving home from our office. And so that venture, which was Aisle 5, was special. We would take on anything. And we did, but it was focused on mostly music videos, commercials, and live concerts. But like we would take on anything. And so,
Like, what's the craziest thing you took on?
we did a half-hour infomercial on a handshake for like $80,000 because we wanted to get into that market. Knew nothing about it.
That's pretty random, yeah. You mean you just shook hands, you trusted that the money would come and they would pay you. You must have had some relationship.
Well, so we did. So our business manager at the time had met this company, and they wanted to try an infomercial. And so he's like, you should try talking to this company. At this point we're,
Aisle 5.
And so, we had studio in Venice, down there, Pacific and Windward. We were set up, like we had proper setup and we were doing proper work. But as a business owner, you always want to do new things. And so, we went out, met and, shook hands. We did contracts and all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't like any pitch, here's what we need to do. Here's what we want to do. We knew some people in the media world and, as well. And we helped do that. And we did it. And looking back at it, the budget was just ridiculous for what we did it, but we did it. We had the resources to do it. We were hungry to do it. So we did it.
And did you end up doing more infomercials, Michael?
So, yeah, I spent been a few years now, like companies where I've gone in and been hired as a consultant.
Yep.
Like Shark Ninja for 2-3 years, and worked on everything from their large infomercials all the way down to digital assets that they use in Amazon stores and stuff like that. And so that, people kind of, it's not a highly regarded creative world, but like from a marketing standpoint and the media standpoint, there's some excellent, I'm surprised more large enterprise companies don't consider it. And I think it's just because of kind of false perception, but it's,
well, I have a good friend, Tim Kerr, who might be listening, who does all the infomercials for that hose, that Wonder hose that, stretches and recoils. Yeah. And he has a blast, and he's shooting literally a few hundred spots a year.
Yeah.
Like if you want to flex your muscles as a filmmaker, it's a ripe playground.
Yeah.
Are you the kind of guy, Michael, this is what I'm learning on our speed date, that there's not a problem that you can't fix. That someone says, yeah, you're going to do this digital media for an infomercial and you've never done it, and you go, okay, well, let me make a phone call, and you just figure it out.
That's kind of it. Like, and it's not always I can't figure everything out, but like for whatever reason, because I've been in the brand world commercial, I work for numerous major agencies. I've been hired by their clients. I've worked for entertainment companies, record labels, the production companies. I've been with the media companies. I generally know somebody at this point. And so like one of your key things you have as you get through your career is your network. And my network is a lot of done very, very well and elevated their careers and gone off and done entrepreneurial things too. And that's really it. It's like, oh, I'm thinking about doing marketing for this thing and the podcast. Oh yeah, that's easy. Here, let's reach out and start talking about this. And
because if you don't know it, you know someone that knows someone who knows it. Yeah.
And if it's something that's kind of outside of my sweet spot, I just make introductions with people too. I'm like, you guys, this is the right person to talk to. I may not be able to add a lot of stuff to what they were talking about, but like you guys connect and go from there and see if that works for you. And generally it does in a big way.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, the connector role of a person can be very rewarding. If I'm doing that, I love stepping out of the way. Right. Like and then often I'll go, hey, you guys can don't blind CC me, just take me off the email chain. You're off and running, man. I got other shit to do. I derailed you with my questions. Get me to Media Fixer after 2019.
Yeah. So it's just, I've worked at several agencies since then as a contract person and helped with new business. So helped with production, help with strategy. And it's been across the gamut of everything I've done. It's been in TV, it's been digital, it's been social, it's been big expensive productions, it's been micro budgets, it's been with disruptors and enterprise clients. It's people call me, and so like, you're in the spot world, and that model of being an EP, having a rep, and then board flow. I've got a lot of friends that are independent directors, or should I say non-exclusive directors now.
Right.
Model. Yep. And they will reach out to me and say, I hear there might be something at this agency. Can you make a couple calls to see if I can get in the game? And I'll be like, yeah, let's make some calls. And how it is. It's a very small world with that. And if it's a match, it's a match. And if it's not, it's not. But that's kind of how this all operates. So like, it's ever evolving, and basically, how can I leverage my experience to help benefit the people I work with? It's really the end of it all, really.
That's a great nugget right there. If you could explain to people that direct commercials, maybe they're unsigned or non-exclusive, as you say.
Ooh, this is a good one, isn't it? It's me, Jake, the editor of the show. The next in-person boot camp is in LA on December 14th, and only 10 filmmakers are accepted, so hurry and sign up today. Bootcamp comes with a free online course and one-on-one call with Jordan Brady. Visit commercialdirectingfilmschool.com. Now, back to this engaging interview.
Or they're even at a shop, but their shop isn't getting the opportunity. And they hear about it, and they know you from USC or from the Sunset Strip. We don't know. Could have been an old Viper Room, buddy. And you go, let me make a call. So here's what I want you to explain. The boards, the knowledge of a board is pretty widespread these days. Like, it's not a secret because it's on this website, or this rep has it, or your buddy tells you, that kind of thing.
Right.
But that doesn't mean if you send your link in to that agency producer that it's even going to get opened.
Right.
And so I'm asking you, just reiterate the value of a relationship just to get the work seen, to be in consideration. Because a lot of people will ask me, Jordan, how do I get, like, yeah, I can pitch, I can execute, we can all make the commercial. How do I get that opportunity?
Right. Yeah, it's I think, if you're a non-exclusive director, first, like, don't think you suck because you're not reps.
Right. It's not the Holy Grail anymore.
No, look, the companies I used to work at back, it's going on 20 years now. So like at Palomar and HSI and DNA and all these other big production companies that did commercials and videos, there were plenty of great talented directors that were on those rosters that didn't get work. And that
died on the vine.
Right. That's the big press release. Congratulations. You're now part of this company and it feels great. And then you can't get sold. And the best advice I've got in my entire career, I did one job or two jobs with Chase Strickland while he was at Backyard.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I think he's like an all-time top director for what he does in commercials. But he said something to me, it stuck. And I didn't really, this is going back 2005-ish. He said, it's a sales-driven game. Don't forget it.
It's a sales-driven game.
And so like, you have to be able to look at the board. If somebody calls me and talks to me and like, I'll look at that board and I'll be like, that's not your reel. And like, I can maybe try it or this, but like, if you're looking at a tabletop board and you don't have the right type of tabletop, let's say you have, you do a lot of tabletop for Denny's or for some restaurant chain, but it's a QSR opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Quick service restaurant.
Right? Like a Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. That's two different real consideration. Just because you've shot food doesn't mean that's going to be sold against the 5 or 10 really great real considerations. And this is where I think it's really important. not having the right person selling that through and pointing those things out is really where the difference maker is when you're talking to a rep or to somebody directly at the agency, which I normally do. I just operate like a rep on that and be like, pick up the phone and call them.
Call the agency producer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you don't know, like you because you know them, or you're just the media fixer. You don't care. You're picking up that phone.
I don't care. Like, I mean, there's always a way to connect the dots. Like, so-and-so, yeah, I did such and such at your agency before. Qualifier, check.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Okay. Check on budget, check on quality, check on acumen. You'll get your 30 or 60 seconds to talk to them. And then that's just later, I hear there's this job for, whatever, Coco's restaurant. And I've got a wonderful director DP who's got excellent macro tabletop photography across hamburgers, pancakes, and juice pours, or whatever the board recalls.
Uh-huh.
And this is the world that we're selling into. And it's when you look at it in those macro terms of what you're really looking at in the board flow, 6 or 8 shots to fulfill a board. This is what the agency's been talking about for 6 months. And so you can't disrespect that. And then you've got to be, so if you get past that hurdle and you have to get to the pitch call, well then, as a director, you better be well versed in how to not compromise what you want to do, but not offend things because somebody's been working on for 6 months. So it's a sales game, and it's a sales-driven vehicle, and that's not a bad thing.
Fun fact, Michael, I know how to light syrup really well. I did 5 years of Eggo waffles, and an agency senior art director, creative director, taught me how to light syrup as it pours over the crevices of a toasted waffle. I don't do much of that work anymore, but what a fun arrow to have in my quiver.
Yeah.
What about, go ahead.
I was saying, and I'm sure you had an incredible food prep team too, to build pantry stacks just perfectly using all the tricks of the trade that they use. It's a big team.
We divided the shoot both physically and mentally into 2 packages. The live action, which were effects driven with a character, and it was a guy in a waffle suit, and the food shoot, so that we were amassing into 4 or 5 day shoots, and a day and a half, 2 days would be just different waffles, blueberries in a ramekin, strawberries on this one. Maybe it was a French toast product. We did that for 2 days, and then we did 3 days of comedy where we could just bang out 5 or 6 scripts. It was really fun, and it was a masterclass that I got to take on the Kellogg's dime back in the day. But I digress. If you had the director buddy who calls and says, "Hey, Michael, I heard about this project for Coco's," in your example, and you had a heart-to-heart with your buddy, and you go, "Look, you know me, I'm Michael Pierce. I'm a media fixer. I shoot straight." You have a different kind of tabletop. You have all this quick service restaurant stuff. You have Popeye's chicken tenders, which are close-ups and different, but that's different than a family casual restaurant like Coco's. Right. You would say that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, because I don't want to waste anybody's time.
And so then your buddy, she says, "Michael, I really want to change the direction of my career. Can you get me in on it? I wouldn't ask you lightly." And then you reluctantly say, "Yes, I will call the agency." What's the spin there? How do you sell that? Or do you, or maybe my hypothetical is wrong?
Well, I don't know if I would spin it, but you're in packaging mode at that point. So you have to find the right DP for the deal, and you have to then package that up and say, this is, if we do this is the DP we're looking for. She's looking to expand from the QSR type food into this type of tabletop, and this is the team I'm putting around her to help execute that. And through my reputation and my reel, that I won't compromise anything, and I'll work directly with you to make sure that every board is executed to your satisfaction.
I gotta tell you, man, that was a great answer. Listeners, do you understand the knowledge he just dropped on us there? That was gold. And as a director, you want an EP or a rep that's going to think like that? Like, okay, well, before I call, who could we package you with?
Yeah. I mean, that's, going back to your comment about shooting syrup, it's a team game. When someone's looking at your reel, Jordan, you get the big star on top because you're the director. But that reel is being evaluated beyond the lighting of the syrup. It's how does that pancake stack look? Is there some steam coming off of it? You've got to have people. You got to have the right DP who can shoot it, knows the camera move to do it, knows the right lens, has the right lighting team, and isn't going to spend 8 hours on a 3-hour pre-light and kill your shoot day. Like these all come from experience, but like there are so many things that will go wrong on the shoot if you put the wrong players together and just hope for the best. It's your
There's no eye in waffle, but there is in Media Fixer. I'm on your site right now, which is thosemfers.co. And I'll put a link at jordanbrady.com. Listeners, when you click on Michael's name, it'll take you to his website. And a couple of things I want to ask you. You don't carry a roster of directors. I'm guessing you cherry pick for the project. Is that the model?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a core group of people I've worked with from over the years, and you have the website. You'll see everything from commercials to behind the scenes.
How-to, food reel, Google corporate film, the shark robot that you mentioned, and then spots like the USAA and the TGI Fridays.
Right.
And then how I found you was the behind the scenes that you did for Jersey Mike's. A friend of mine sent it to me, and then I saw it on the web. I saw it on the Instagrams. The behind the scenes for Jersey Mike's with Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the world is getting saturated with behind the scenes from production companies and directors with their iPhones and people slapping a montage together. And when I talked to you on the phone, I think I showered you with love for this piece because it's basically a mini documentary on the making of the commercial. Yeah. You interviewed the creative directors and the director, and I want to say Danny DeVito talked to the camera. I don't quite remember.
He did. Yeah, it's it's an art form now. So like my friend Steven, he's the one who directed that, and did that for I think like a 3 or 4 day shoot. This medium, goes like my exposure, and it goes back to like 2007 when kind of the digital world was really becoming viable with some of the early cameras. The was it the DVX 100 was a versatile HDV camera, and I was hired by JWT Atlanta to do a kind of a behind the scenes of their campaign that E. McKenzie shot called America's Marines, and I said, wouldn't it be so much better to do a documentary film and go around and ask the people, because they wanted engagement. It was like a 12-city shoot, and they wanted engagement with everyday Americans in a non-propagandic way to just get their opinions on the Marines. And so I pitched them on, why don't we just go into the streets and start doing street interviews and going around towns and just seeing the connection. Well, invariably, what we found out was pretty much everybody was like 1, maybe 2 generations max away from being connected to somebody who served as a Marine specifically. And we started creating these, what we called mobisodes back then, where it's a webisode.
Mobisode.
Yeah.
You coined that term, mobisode?
I did coin. Well, yeah, I'm going to take credit for it. I will. I may not be the first on Google with it,
but I love it. I love it. Mobisode, like a mobile episode.
Yeah. And the reason they were mobile, so we'd go to a city, and within like 24, 36 hours, we had to have like a 3-minute polished video that included color correction, original music, audio sweetening, storyline, graphics application, everything. And we did. And so it ended up creating almost a 6 or 7 year relationship with myself and the Marines. And it really helped to shape and change the way that they, because those are the recruiting campaigns of their ads, right? It's how they, the engagement we were getting from people all across the world. And at this time, it was when we were heavily in Iraq, and that was very popular, obviously. The positive engagements that we were getting through they were just basically posted on YouTube was incredible, and it really opened up this model. And so like what you see with the Jersey Mike's is just the application of things we did for the advancement of like EPKs with the record labels for their promotion, right, and other behind the stuff that things that we've done for commercials. But and what they end up really becoming is internal sales vehicles for the agencies
to get other clients,
and then also show appreciation to their existing client. And it's
well, I'm a huge believer in the latter, showing appreciation to my clients and the agencies that are really my clients, and any behind the scenes I make available. I did a shoot where the client and the agency had a behind the scenes team on a shoot I was producing and directing. And then I had my own behind the scenes person.
Right.
And they said, "Hey, did you get anything?" I go, "Here, I'm going to ship you a hard drive. You can have it all. This is your IP, for lack of a better term."
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know what became of that, but I did cut my own stuff, and it turned out great. I've done it for a number of clients. I would love to be in a position, full disclosure, to hire you to come to one of my shoots. I don't know if I can afford it because you're fancy pants, but
I have an idea, Jordan.
Yes, please. Love ideas.
I will operate as your executive producer, get you that Super Bowl ad that can afford us the opportunity to do that behind the scenes at that level.
Done deal.
100%.
You get the Super Bowl spot. Just get me on the pitch, and I'll reward you with a modestly priced sushi dinner, and then we'll book the job, and you'll get the behind the scenes. Yeah. We'll make it a part of the whole thing.
That's fine. I will select sugarfish.
Fine.
I will bring my wife.
I love your wife. Love to meet your wife.
I'll bring our mutual friend Jeff Gordon.
Yes, Jeff Gordon's been on the podcast. He was an early guy, a guest on the podcast. Jeff Gordon, for the listener, you can Google. If you Google my name and another name of someone that's been on the show, like soon you'll be able to Google Michael Pierce, Jordan Brady. The podcast episode will show up either on my website, Spotify, iTunes, wherever people get their pod. I love that deal. Thank you. With Jersey Mike's, I want to say it was Hungry Man or somebody that produced the spot. But you were hired by the agency, not the production company. The agency said, "Media fixer, come do this behind the scenes."
Yeah, so it's the history. It's BTS behind the scenes is as much a talent-driven vehicle as the spot world is. There's a relationship there with Steve, director, and that's how that comes in. And so the questions become deliverables and budget, and what do they really want to do? And it's obviously a lot easier to have the financing or the budget on a Super Bowl ad than it is, a back to school ad. But like,
sure,
they're all, saying that's really how that comes in. And then, you look at again, it's driven by reels and submissions, and like, the crew that he'll leverage, his team he's got his machine that he does. And right. So like, if you want to experience like Jersey Mike's, he's the guy for that. If you want something that's, you have to have something that's music video driven, you need an EPK. Well, that's not him, that's somebody else. But like,
it's a different package.
It's a different package, and it's a different approach. But and
is that the reason you don't maintain, like, your model isn't director driven, it's sales driven, and it's category, not category as in category of commercial, it's category of creative services driven?
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah, that's fair. It's not, we're not, look, I connected with you because of an email marketing campaign.
Yeah.
And I do that heavily, right? So like, I'm always pushing out updates and opportunities, reaching out to agencies. I'll send in any given week between 500 and 1,000 emails out.
Holy moly.
No, between commercials, BTS shoots, media buying, looking for new opportunities, like just, once you have the list and you figure out who does what, the systems to move at that scale now using CRM is not hard. It's the hard part's making the calls and it's keeping up that way. But I don't operate in an exclusive basis for anybody. If, a lot of times I'll see a board and I'm like, oh, that's Jeff. Who else has,
Amongst
action and primate abuse? That's Jeff Gordon.
Yeah. Jeff Gordon is a master of monkeys.
Yeah. But, and so like, this is when I see things. And then like we talked about the other one where somebody will say, oh, I heard about something brewing, and they're not a salesperson. And
right.
And let's be honest, it's not the worst. It's much more difficult to be an EP and a director selling yourself onto a job because you're just too close to it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of power in having one other person be a representative who can work through that with an agency, especially when it comes down to the negotiating budget.
Yeah. Amen to that. Yeah. I walk away from that part of it. Although I will admit, Michael, I have some relationships that are close enough where it's so transparent. I go, this is what it's going to cost. This is what we're marking it up.
Right.
My fee's in there. There's I'm not like upcharging walkie-talkie rental to make a dollar. This is what it costs.
Yeah.
And that's typically on the lower end of things.
Yeah.
And then I'll step away and Kim, my EP, will handle the rest. And I think it makes the people on the other side more comfortable too.
Yeah. When you get to that, like I've got relationships like that, it's wonderful because you can just cut to the chase.
Yeah.
That you've gone through the battles together. Every relationships, you find out really how strong your bonds are with people when you have a problem, not when things are going great. And if you can do things like on a handshake or basically like, here it is via email, then you're not going to do any better than that. And budgets are, they're honest with you too, right? They'll go, hey, look, I don't have $125,000 like you wanted I got 62,700, and that's the number I can do. What can we do? It's our jobs to figure things out.
Then you have a conversation.
One
of the things I totally get it, and I don't even think it's as big a deal as it may sound if you listen to episodes from a year ago. But the deliverables of the like one spot and then a cut down. Let's say there's a 30 and then there's a 15. Right. I'm going to say, the 15 is probably better if we record separate lines. And it's not like the old days with the actor where you have to have a lift. You can make it different 15 because you can record shorter lines or a different joke, right? But then you got someone asking, or everyone asking, the regular rectangle, the vertical for the phone, and then the 1 square for a social post. And so that really is on the editing side, and I'm sure you package post, that one spot that became 2 is now 2 times 3 times, it's 6 versions. No, it's 7 really. Maybe my math is wrong, but it's 6. And that has to be colored, it has to be formatted, it has to be mastered and trafficked. And it's just a pain. And I don't think it's as big a deal anymore, but there's compromises in like, okay, you have to, like for a while I was shooting everything with 2 cameras. No one can afford that anymore. So now it's a little wider and we extract. Everybody does that, right? But it is compromise. You're saying, hey, let's make this not the best and this vertical not the best, and together they'll each be okay. That's just not really a question.
Yeah, no, look, the mixed media aspect is huge now. I mean, I have a project right now. It's got exactly that scenario. There's just a way to approach it. I think this is kind of like the effect of the old Canon 5D, right? Which like blew everything apart in our world.
Right.
And it was like, oh, you can just do anything without lighting now. And they're like, that's what people said. They just went out and did things. Yeah. And now the formatting issue, it is what it is. Like you just can't get around it. But I think the difficulty becomes in post, and I do a lot of posts as well, is putting a valuation that is required in order to hit the deliverable. Because I think like the digital world probably doesn't get the investment that the TV world gets. And it's always kind of I feel bad for the people that are the agencies that are running it, or if it's client direct work, because it's always a runoff budget. And you just gotta like figure out, if you get the whole package, you got to just figure it out and be sharper. But it's just more prevalent. I mean, we're this deliverable, it's got iPhone stuff on it. It's got YouTube proper. It's got TV. It's got a 30 and a 15. And we're going through why the 15 just isn't a simple lift of the 30, because there's some very tight shots that'll be way too long by a couple seconds in the 30 if we just try to take it to a 15.
Yeah.
So like it keeps you on your toes.
You have something on your website. I get creative services. I get media buying, which I may have a need for that soon, helping a client. Maybe more in a connector way, but I'll pick your brain off the air. Okay. GTM, what is that? Something to goods to market? What does that mean?
Go to market strategy.
Go to market strategy. How are we going to launch this product?
Yeah. So a lot of the clients I talk to, or a lot of the pitches, they don't always turn into clients. They are e-commerce based businesses, and they have done very well launching themselves through all the digital platforms, TikTok, Meta, Insta, everywhere, right? They're doing lots of search and SEM, but they all cap out at like usually between $5 and $10 million of revenue, but there just isn't scale in digital media. Because if you really break down digital media advertising, it's a single serve ad at a time, every time. So you can only connect with one person at a time. What TV does is it's a scale model, right? So if you're looking to scale your brand beyond digital, that's what that go-to-market strategy is. And my go-to strategy, the first one, if someone wants to come to TV, is educate them on the ability to get on TV without making huge media buy investments for it. Talk about the different ways you can buy media across linear TV, which is just traditional broadcast and cable.
It's easier, and it's gotten way easier in the last 2 months. I could be in Paramount through their app. I could be in one of their channels right now.
That's right. And there's also, the other aspect is using data to index. I could take data from subscription services and that have 10,000 data points on customer purchasing behaviors, and I can match that to the demographics of TV stations and streaming networks, and the data, or essentially basically AI, if you want to call it that, will tell me, here's the top 25 channels you should advertise on first to test the media. And so data informing that, how to do that, and creating a go-to-market strategy. You can get to TV. Honestly, if you had $100,000, you can launch a national campaign and include a production of a commercial, nothing high end, but like more in the traditional direct response model, but not like cheesy. But like if you're a big brand, or if you're a fairly sizable e-commerce company and you've never gone to TV, for $250K, you can do multi-week national test over a quarter for the media, and scale your business and begin to test and scale your business and buy media not very differently than the way you probably buy your Google AdWords.
Wow. And that includes the production that you mentioned, 100 and something?
Yeah, it can. Wow. The general model will be, a lot of these, here's the thing. So a lot of these companies, they have invested in shooting, right? They'll hire somebody like you and they'll say, here, come and do our digital ad, but they spend money on it and they do a nice job, right?
Right.
And so they have these wonderful existing assets that you're able to
bring. No one sees.
Right. And they're just sitting there. And I'm like, well, that's always my first question. What have you shot in the last year or two? And they're like, oh, we got this Dropbox. Can I send you a link? And then you go in there and there's like, a terabyte worth of content. And you're like, yeah, you're good. Like,
you salivate. I can work with that.
Yeah. But more importantly, it just becomes like a post-production. You get a really good editor.
Yeah.
To cut a 30, and then maybe you have to shoot a few things, right? Like a couple little tabletop things, or a spokesperson or something, or a motion graphics card or something. Like, nobody should be afraid of advertising on TV, because it's not the Super Bowl experience
Right.
I have clients that spend less on their annual linear TV budgets than people do 30 seconds for one ad in the Super Bowl, and they do just fine.
I love it. Well, I'm going to talk to you about that when the dust settles on some of these jobs here. Data-driven media audit. What is that?
Yeah, so kind of goes into what we were just talking about, how you leverage data and insights, and a lot of times you can look at there's two things that were a branding, media buys, or upfront media, also known as non-preemptible or NPE. Those are kind of set it and forget it experiences for a lot of agencies and clients, and they're just looking to buy audience eyeballs, so they want to be on this program or around this programming, and it doesn't always add up dollar-wise. That you can actually get the same audience size by buying day parts instead of specific time periods. Like,
right.
I have to be the lead-in spot on the new Kardashian show. Well, data shows that you should be buying the 3-hour window around it. And by the way, that media costs 70% less.
Right.
And so
your mind thinks I'm the lead off, but really it's people watching the hour before.
Right. That's right. And so that's what the data informs. Well, your what we call over-indexing. If 100 is your ideal customer, the indexing shows that your customer in this 3-hour day part is like 175. So yeah, they're watching the show, but they're also watching all the other programming around it.
Michael, I mean, you're talking all this stuff and I'm going, wow, how did he figure all this out? When did that guy that was saying no thank you to heroin at the Viper Room become this data nerd? And I say that with love.
Yeah.
Our speed date allows me to say that. I feel comfortable.
Yes, I don't feel offended.
Yeah. I noticed I said you turned down the heroin. I didn't.
I did.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Neither have I. Let me ask you this. And what's great is you've explained it, because at first sight, media fixer, you might think like, if I go to Mexico, I may hire a fixer for my production company, which is, a producer. But hearing you explain, the media buying, the go-to-market, this data, and then from the behind the scenes and the traditional spots and corporate films, it's an all-round media fixer. I say kudos.
Thank you.
So bring it back. Let me ask you this hypothetical question, because I'm thinking of my listener right now. Like, Jordan, I'm not, I don't have to take my hot sauce to the Hulu ads or network television ads. Right. But there are filmmakers that get a call from a startup, and they're like, we want to make a commercial. And rather than letting that commercial that the filmmaker listening right now makes age in a Dropbox folder, should he or she reach out to you and go, hey, I want to help this client. I'm going to make a commercial. They got $75,000, but they don't know what they're going to do with it when they're done.
Yeah. 100%.
I think that scenario exists.
It exists a lot, actually. So,
yeah.
And that's a niche that I've definitely been connected to, like where somebody, what you just described, the next thing is, oh, you should talk to my friend Michael. Like, he knows media. Like, he can talk to you about that. Because there's a lot of agencies out there of different level and different acumen. And you know how it is, like, everybody on the client side, the first thing they're going to always ask you when you're up for something is, what have you done in my vertical? Well, different agencies have different acumens, right? So This agency's done a lot of insurance and healthcare. This one does a lot of CPG. This one here is an automotive agency. This one here is a performance agency. This one here does half-hour infomercials. Like, what I've been there, this is happening more and more, is where I get reach out on clients looking to circumvent an extended RFP process and saying, this is what we want to do. Like, we just want to be introduced to the right handful of people and have them pitch us and tell us more about what we're doing. And so that's like, I did this with, most recently with Thrive Market. And I can't discuss the details on it, but basically it's when the information was put in front of them, it changes how they see the marketplace. And that could be a huge savings across media as well. Like when you start looking at media you have opinions about that you think you need versus cross-checking that with data, and then measuring that data, weekly and monthly to see how performance goes against the data and your opinion, it does a couple things. One, it usually brings more reach and frequency for a client, which generally will push up sales. But the other thing, it also frees up money to either invest more in media to kind of push those levels for more revenue, or it allows them to invest in other things and have money suddenly to do the content we were discussing about before, vertical and square shoots across different social media channels.
Maybe throw in behind the scenes.
Yeah. And so these are the, I think agencies and clients can get trapped, really boxed in really hard quickly on an RFP. And if you don't really know the landscape of what's happening out there or the opportunity that exists, you could be spending money you don't need to, but also taking marketing opportunities off the table for your business.
Wow, this has been a great lesson, Michael. Was there anything I didn't ask you thought I would ask or wanted me to ask?
I had no expectations other than the chat. I'm honored to even be on your podcast, frankly.
Oh, I'm happy that you're here. This has been a great chat. Now, the show is called Respect the Process. When you hear that phrase, what does that mean to you? This is how we conclude every show.
Well, sure. I mean, it's a process. Don't assume you know much about any job when you go into it, other than what's in front of you. Be respectful to every single person across the process. There are plenty of dicks in this industry, or at least there used to be.
Still is, but plenty of dicks.
And, it's such a turnoff for me. And look, I'm sure not everything I've ever done is the best behavior, but the process, there's a difference between being a dick and being stern and you're holding your ground on something and trying to get your, whoever you're talking to see your perspective and why it's important. But it's a process, and that process, it can take 6 months, 8 months to go through that process from the initial contact point through the pitch and RFP and the bid, and then the pitch, getting down to the final three. And so, if you're on the crew end, or if you're not the producer or the EP, like, realize that. That's why we have gray hair and we're probably way a little too much and we're snacking too much at craft service during the shoot, because we're not just happy to be at the shoot. We know there's a whole other part of this job still to go, and it's a process. And so, do it right. I don't believe in compromising, but that doesn't mean like laying, I don't like to lay down on things. I just don't want to. The worst thing I can do, if I don't go through the process right, I don't want to go back and look at the 2 or 3 or see the spots, and I have 2 or 3 of them on my reel where I compromised on a shot. When I watch those things, I look at a commercial and I go, man, I hate that shot. I don't see the great rest of the commercial. I see the stupid thing I laid down on the process because I didn't give my best on it. And that's like, that's the process. It's a creative, it's a fight, it's ups and downs and highs and lows, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. That's for sure.
It's a teamwork.
It's team.
It's a team. That's a great answer, Michael. Thanks again. I'm going to put links to the Danny DeVito behind the scenes that I love at jordanbrady.com. And listeners, when you click on his name, it'll take you to the website and you'll see all the stuff we were talking about.
Awesome.
Hey, have a great day. Thanks for the speed date.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be in touch about the Super Bowl spot.
Yeah. Well, I'm serious. Call me. We'll do it.
It's about that time.
Yeah, it's about that time.
Sugarfish, here we come.
Love it.
Thanks again.
All right. Bye.
I told you Michael was going to be a great interview, everybody. If you have a question about commercial directing, or if any of my courses are right for you, just DM me there. Bootcamp will see you the 14th of December.
True Gentleman Industries. We make commercials.
Commercial Directing Film School's mission is to help filmmakers direct commercials professionally. With online courses and in-person boot camps, we demystify the process to get you to the next level. all taught by your accessible mentor, filmmaker Jordan Brady.